Hello and welcome to a special live that me and Doc are putting on England selection today. So me and Doc are going to go over what our thoughts and opinions on this subject. Doc, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. Let's get straight into it. Doc, I'm not going to say that you must be loving this England squad, but I'm going to say you must be a very proud Crystal Palace fan tonight, mate.
Yes, very much so. I think a lot of people out there, especially in our footballing community, need to eat a rather large slice of humble pie. And I think reality's set in a little bit. And it's just nice to be proven right, So
Yeah, I can't agree with you any more than that, mate. I think months we've been going on about it, and they've tried to put something in the way. Doc, what do you make of the selection? Is there any sort of surprises for you, or anyone you thought that may have gone that's been left out?
the biggest surprise for me is the fact that Gareth Southgate seems to have woken up and smelt the coffee. And do you know what this screams to me? I've always believed that Southgate is a yes man. And I've always suggested that the reason why England foul so much is the power that the hierarchy at the FA have over the management with regards to recruiting a yes sir man and someone that would do as he's told. This seems a little bit different this time. This screams out to me that Southgate is doing it his way, and it's a man that, for me, seems to know that he's going regardless, and he's gonna, give it the best shot. And he's finally done what A, he promised to do, and B, what the neutral fans wanted. He's picking players on form, not on reputation. And the reason why I'm bringing these points up is there is surprises, but not for the reasons that you might think. I'm not surprised by the selection because I think the team speaks for itself. The only one in there that I'm actually shocked that isn't in there is, and you're going to have to help me with his pronunciation because I believe I've been saying it wrong all day, is Bramwaith?
Braithwaite, yeah.
Braithwaite. So I honestly thought he would go. I thought with his age and everything else, I thought he would go. And I honestly think he's had a better season at Everton, bearing in mind the struggles they've had, and he's kept his composure. And people forget that Everton would have finished like 10th in the league this year on points merit alone. But performance-wise, for me, he's been better than Dunk. So I would have took him over Dunk. But other than that, that's the only surprise. People feel like Grealish and Maddison are hard done by. I don't see it like that. I think Maddison had a very good start to the season. He got injured and he's been off the boil since. I think if you're picking people on form, you're talking about the form. There's no good having form at the beginning of the year if you've fallen off since, because that means you're out of form now. The in-form players are the ones he's picked. And that's why you'll see 4 Crystal Palace players playing there. And it's quite ironic that we've got 4 in there. We still feel like we're hard done by, because I still believe Mitchell should have been in there as well. So that's my theory on it. But I'm not shocked. I don't think, I think an old Southgate would have had a Rashford in there, probably a Henderson in there, probably would have took Maguire with a calf injury, hoping he'd get him fit, would have probably picked Grealish, maybe even Sterling to a degree. But this Southgate, he seems to, like I said, he seems to have woken up and smelt the coffee, and he seems to be doing the right things, and he has picked people on form and the form towards the latter end of the season, the ones that actually still hit the ground running. What about yourself? Was you surprised by any of them?
Do you know what I was, yeah. I was really surprised that he took Gordon over Grealish, and the reason I say that is because I think Grealish is more influential than Gordon. Regardless of what form he's in. So that for me was a massive surprise. I can see why he's taken Dunk over Braithwaite when it comes to the experience. And I know people say, oh, he's not had a great season at Brighton. They've been up and down. I get that. But I do think the experience at the back, whether he plays or not, he's a leader. He's a leader within the camp. He's a leader at Brighton. So I can see why he's taken him. I don't think he'll play many minutes unless there's an injury. But that's another risk, isn't it, really, to be honest with you, because you've got Gehi that's just come back from an injury, and then you've got Stones, who, let's be honest, he's had his fair share of injuries as well. So I do think it's risky, but I can see why he's taken Dunk over Braithwaite. But for me, Grealish was a massive one. Maddison, I said from probably 2-3 months ago that he wouldn't go. I just don't think he's been good enough. I think Eze's been better towards the second half of the season. I think Mainoo's been better the second half of the season. Bellingham speaks for himself. So I'm not surprised about Maddison, but I was about Grealish. I did think if there's anyone that can change a game in a quick flash, Grealish was that man. I just don't think Gordon's got it in his locker. But I might be surprisingly wrong. You know, let's wait a week and we'll see what happens.
I'm very surprised you've got that theory. I'm actually very surprised you've got that theory because who's had a better season, Grealish or Gordon?
I get where you're coming from in season over 38 games, but we're talking about a tournament. And I think Grealish is a tournament player. And look, I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. But I just feel like Grealish could have. I just feel like if we're 1-0 down, Grealish could do something. And I'm not saying he should start, but I feel like he could change a game in the blink of an eye. And it showed it against. For me, it showed it against the other night when we played Bosnia. He come on and I think he got an assist. He looked sharp. He looked like he wanted it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. As I say, I hope I'm wrong about Gordon, but that did surprise me.
I think you're looking at it from the wrong point of view. I think the left side is the side that worries me the most. I think we're most fragile at left back. We need a player that's going to cover that left back position the most. For me, Gordon not only goes, but Gordon starts. He's the only one that will go up and down that line and he will cover that left back. So for me, Gordon will start. If Gordon is tiring towards the end of the game, or if you need a goal, that is when I think Southgate will be taking Gordon off and bringing Eze on to play on the left. If Grealish would have gone, he still doesn't set foot on that pitch for me. There's other players there that have got the same creativity as a Grealish and have done it more regularly, more frequently, week in, week out. Eze's put up a hell of a lot more stats than Grealish has this season.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. For me personally, I think Foden starts on that left. There's no doubt about it. Because if he don't, then he don't get in the side. I generally think come next Sunday, he'll play Gallagher and Rice with Bellingham in front, which would leave Foden, Kane and Saka. That's my personal opinion. That's what I think he'll do. I think looking at his interview earlier, do you play Rice as the only holding midfield player? If we're going to go attacking, does he just hold Rice there on his own, put Bellingham and Foden in the middle of the park, and let them go with Gordon, Kane, Saka? But knowing Southgate, I think he'll go Gallagher, Rice, Bellingham with Foden, Kane, and Saka. Tabriz, welcome to the live, mate.
How you doing, mate?
What's your first opinions on the selection?
So I'm just going over the 26, and I think the only is it really a surprise? But it's kind of definitely a bold move, not taking Grealish. But exactly what Doctor was saying, he hasn't really been in like any sort of form for like Man City. And of course, the emergence of Eze, especially against Bosnia, kind of, for me, proved that Eze can actually do what Grealish does with literally a little bit of more dynamic movements. You know, I don't know what the right terminology is, but I mean, I think for the first game, I think he's going to start personally Rice, Trent, Bellingham, and on the left, Eze.
So Foden don't play for you in the first game?
Not in the first game.
Wow.
That's a big shout, that one. I didn't see that coming.
I just want to move on. I don't know if you've seen Gareth Southgate's press conference, and he said that you can in a tournament you can afford to gamble with one player, and obviously he's gambled with Luke Shaw, with the results coming back that he's improving week by week on his fitness. We know he's doing grass training at the moment. I think they're training at Spurs at the moment because of obviously the game tomorrow night. What's your thoughts on Doc, and I'll start with you on this one. What's your thoughts on him taking a gamble on Luke Shaw going?
If that's the only gamble we're taking, I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? I don't think. Let's be honest, right? We're talking about an England team now, where we're talking about having the best crop of players that's humanly possible and available to us. It shouldn't matter who plays left back, should it? Let's be honest. It really shouldn't matter who's playing left back. Even if we have to go free at the back and don't play with the left back and play with Gordon as the wing back, we should be more than comfortable to doing that. Playing the left back, it's not like the old England where we didn't know where the goals were coming from, so we had to worry about being at the back. We should be on the front foot. We should be attacking. We should be outplaying teams. Teams shouldn't be attacking our defence. Yes, we will get caught, but we'll always get caught. Any team will get caught. And I'm sure they'll look at that left side and they will target that left side. But these are Premiership quality players. You know, I think Trippier is more than adequate to play there. I think Gomez is more than adequate to play there. I think Konza has done a job there. I don't see it being a big deal. And I also think with the centre-backs that you've got there, and I think this is where it plays into Guéhi's hands. I think if you had Maguire there, you'd have more of an issue. But I think with the pace of Guéhi and the pace of Stones and the way they read the game, I think they're more than adequate to step over and defend as a free if the left back gets caught out of position. So I don't see what the problem is. I really don't. I am a bit concerned that if we're going to lose a game, it's going to come down that side. It reminds me of when we had Phil Neville there, and I used to think, if he keeps running at Phil Neville, he's going to do something silly. He's going to give a penalty away. He's going to do something stupid. But come on, let's be real. These players, they're a lot better than a Phil Neville, you know? So I'm not that concerned. I think if the attacking team play the fluency that I believe we can, I believe that it's the case of we're 3-0 up, we make a mistake down that side and we win 3-1. That's the way it is. So I want to see attacking football. I want to see us actually going after teams.
Yeah. T, what's your thoughts on Luke Shaw? Obviously, he hasn't played for Man United since February. What's your sort of opinion on Luke Shaw and him being the only gamble that Southgate's going to take? Bearing in mind that we have got injuries in that squad at the moment. There is a few injuries floating around. I know they're only niggles, but niggles turn into big injuries. Do you think that's the only gamble he's taking?
You know, I have to echo exactly what Doctor said. I mean, if we've like gambled on the fitness of like Beckham, we've gambled on the fitness of Rooney. These are match winners. If we're really only talking about Luke Shaw, let's be absolutely honest here. It's not an issue. Honestly, I cannot. There's like nothing more that I can say that Doctor's not even covered. Like, if that's really the only thing that we can talk about. And yes, every single elite player, especially at this time, will like have, niggles, bruises. That's just, the name of the game. So it's not an issue.
Wow, that's interesting. Mark Steer, I'm going to head to the comments, but Mark Steer says we'll never win anything under Southgate. And then this is a good one. Why not take Chilwell? Let's start with you, Tabriz, on this one. Why not take Chilwell?
Poor run of form for like Chelsea. Didn't really fill anyone with confidence in the friendly against was it Brazil? Was it Brazil?
Yeah, I
Brazil?
think it's Brazil he played.
And yeah, he's not really been like the same since his kind of injury. And hey, you know what? We have kind of all spoken about how Southgate doesn't take players that are playing well for their clubs respectively, and it's the first time in a long time where I'd say that the whole nation's now looking and thinking, wow, okay, you know what? There's like players that actually earn their like spots. And again, going exactly to what Doctor said, we have Kwanzaa, we have Gomez, we have Trippier. You don't have to be left-footed to actually play left back or right back or whatever positions respectively. We have enough to win this competition.
Doc, what's your thoughts on Chilwell not going, mate?
Well, I'm going to twist the question to Mark. Mark said, why not take Chilwell? I say, why would you even give Chilwell a cap? What has he done to warrant a cap? I tell you now, I know that people are going to say that I'm biased because I'm a Palace fan, but I'm not biased fan, and these boys will validate I'm not a biased fan. However, I will state a case on the fact that Mitchell has been considerably better than Chilwell all season. There's not been a time where Mitchell hasn't outshone Chilwell. So if you're talking about Chilwell, again, Mitchell should be there in front of Chilwell. This is the reason why Chilwell's not gone. Because if Mitchell doesn't get a call up, no way should a Chilwell. And I echo what Tabriz said. He got his call up, Chilwell, in that friendly, and he looked awful. He looked absolutely awful. He can't even take a throw in. I honestly think he's so overrated. It's unbelievable. I think he is awful. And I think I've said that clear enough for the people at the back. I think he is absolutely dreadful. And I can't believe that he even gets a game at Chelsea, let alone at England. He is terrible. He is like a Monday morning. He is depressing.
Mark, if you can leave your comment onto why you think Chilwell should go, that would be amazing. Moving on, we got Tom that says, "Evening, lads. I hope someone reminded Tabriz you don't have to be at a top 6 club to be called up for England." Obviously, Tom is another proud Palace fan tonight. So let's on that comment, we'll move on to it. So me and Doc have been not fighting, but we've been bantering with Tabriz. I'll put it as bantering. We've been bantering with Tabriz, right, about England's selection and
not just Tabriz. Let's not just target Tabriz. A lot of people, but yeah, go on, carry on.
Obviously, I'm a massive West Ham fan. Doc's a massive Palace fan. We've got Bowen and arguably James Ward-Prowse, who I'm not saying should be in the squad, but Bowen definitely. And Doc's obviously got the Palace players that have been called up. Now, Tabriz says if they played for a bigger club, they would play for England. Now, ultimately, they've all been called up to go to the Euros. So, Tabriz, just give us your humble pie opinion on this, please, mate.
Listen, I mean, I've been eating humble pie the moment I saw Doc's background image of like how many Crystal Palace players are actually in the England squad. Listen, I mean, fair play to the likes of Palace, to the likes of West Ham, Villa, and the other clubs who kind of I'd say on paper people didn't fancy. And again, it's just so refreshing to actually see not only these clubs thriving in the Premiership, but young English players who literally have the ability to literally play for any nation, not only in Europe, but in the world. Now it's all about Gareth actually playing these players. It's not just about being in the squad now. Can the likes of Bowen and Wharton actually get into this starting 11 and actually be, I'd say, like a kind of valuable tool for like England, not only in this tournament but in the World Cup. But yeah, you listen. I mean, again, this is literally booked the trend, and I kind of hope England fans, possibly the next England manager, sees exactly what Gareth Southgate has actually done and can literally now trust players that don't necessarily play for like the top 4 or top 5 teams and say, you know what, if you're good enough, you will literally get into my squad and you'll actually get into my team.
I'm really sorry. I've got to interject. Please put that comment up.
What one?
Under a different manager, not Southgate, those players from Palace don't get in the squad, let's be honest. What are you drinking on this Thursday night? Because this is a school night, right? This is a school night and it's Thursday night, and you should not be drinking, right? You shouldn't be drinking on a school night. I'm telling you now, you've probably got work in the morning and you're going to wake up with an hangover. I don't care who's in charge of England. You're talking about a team. Sorry to drop a few names here, but you're talking about players that went to Anfield, kept a clean sheet and won, smashed Manchester United 4-0, smashed Aston Villa 4-0, who finished 4th, smashed West Ham 5-2, and smashed a few others along the way for fun, and went 7 games unbeaten, and are the most informed team in the league, bar City, that won it. What manager on the planet that would be managing England wouldn't be picking these players? And I'll tell you something else for free. If Alesi picked England, he'd be in there, and Mitchell should be in there as well. So how do you like them apples? The only reason why Mitchell and Alesi's not there, apart from the fact Alesi chose France, is Southgate promised that clubs wouldn't have tables at the clubhouse anymore. And if he would have picked Mitchell, we would have had to have our own table. And that's the problem. But he had to leave Mitchell at home on the technicality of we couldn't have our own table, and he didn't want to separate them. So how do you like them apples?
He does contradict himself by saying Walton is going to be one of England's best players, mark his words. But I want to move on to Walton in a minute. So for me, I think Southgate's gone very, very attacking with the side. And I was listening to a few interviews earlier, Jamie O'Hara being one of them on Sky Sports News, who seems to be really excited and upbeat about this England squad, and says that it's the best England squad we've ever seen. All right. Now, you've got the golden generation that we call them, that obviously didn't achieve much. What's your stance, Doc, on this England side being the best England side that we've ever seen? Number one. And number two, do you think he's gone very attacking with the side, or do you think that he's playing it a bit safe in the way that he's going to approach these games?
I think on technical ability, this is arguably the best England team that we've had in our lifetimes. And what I mean by that is we've had ballers before, but we haven't had a selected amount of ballers that we've got right now. We've got 5 or 6 very technically gifted players that if they were Spanish or Brazilian, we would be seriously raving about. And I'm talking about the youngsters as well. Mainu is a baller. Walton is a baller. You know, we've got Declan Rice, like, flying the flag. He is a baller. You've got the Bellinghams at a young age who's a baller. Foden has set the world on fire this year. You've got Kane scoring goals for fun and breaking records. You know, let's be real. This is arguably, like, if you think about that golden generation, we only had 3 or 4 footballers that was technically as gifted as we are. Yes, we had a David Beckham that could cross a ball, but we didn't have players that could beat players and run past players and take players on in abundance the way we have now. That being said, I think we had better balance in the team, in the golden generation, than what we've got right now.
And to be sort of the same question to you, do you expect Gareth Southgate to approach this tournament with attacking football? I know we're used to him being defensive and defensive-minded, but with the side that he's picked in the 26, I think personally that it's a massive, not massive, but he's going attacking. Have you got the same opinion, or do you see that he's going to sit back?
No, I think attack is the best form of defense. If you kind of look at our offensive players, they are absolutely weapons. If you can look at, I'd say, like the pace of Gordon, the trickery and the dribbling ability of Eze, the spatial awareness of the likes of Bellingham and Foden, again the running power of Saka, the kind of natural finishing of Kane. We are now set up to actually attack teams, and it's really, really kind of nice to see. However, we all know in the back of Gareth Southgate's mind, there's that kind of I'd say very pragmatic key that is still there. When you kind of come against the likes of Spain, Brazil, not Brazil, Germany, France, let's see when the games are tight how patient Gareth Southgate is. Talking about balance and literally quickly kind of going over in terms of what you asked, Doc, I would probably swap and say the balance in this current squad is better than the balance of the golden generation. I think the golden generation had like influential and big game players. John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Gerrard, Beckham, Scholes, Rooney, these are big game players. However, the balance wasn't right. we have the right balance now. We have Wharton that literally keeps everything going. We have the likes of Eze that can draw in fouls. We have the trickery of Foden. We have the box-to-box ability of like Gallagher and Bellingham. We can have the kind of we can have the general in there in terms of Declan Rice. We have the goal scoring ability of Harry Kane. Defensively, okay, you know, like it is what it is, but the balance is so much better. We just hope that Gareth Southgate gets it right. And again, it comes down to those finer details. Look at the games we've lost in these knockout tournaments. We are literally talking about penalties. We're not talking about being open up and literally being absolutely hammered. We are talking about inches away from at least getting a draw and bringing things into extra time or possibly winning the Euros when it was here at Wembley. We are talking about inches, people. This is, for me, one of the best balanced sides we have ever seen. And again, we should be backing our lads to bring it home.
So when I say balance, I do agree with a lot what you just said, T. When I say balance, I don't mean balance as in the squad. I mean with the complementary, like position-wise. For me personally, the where we went wrong in the past was the formation, and that formation was what made us look out of balance. But I feel like if they would have played the players in the right positions, then it would have had more balance. And I just want to address a couple of Mark's comments because I have noticed them.
And I'm going to address the comments now. There's a few I'm going to do above that. I know what you're going to do, but when it comes to Mark, I'll pull it up.
Okay, go on then.
So, sorry for the pronunciation, but I'm going to call you Mar for easy's sake because I'm not great at pronunciation.
Marky.
So Mar goes on.
No, it's a Marcus.
Marcus goes on saying, no, don't get me wrong. They're good enough. Previous managers don't pick many players outside the top teams. I think that's what T was getting at earlier. You're getting me wrong. I think they should be in the squad. But let me just scroll down. And then he says, my comments were to big up Gareth Southgate, laugh at lad, hold your horses. Doc?
Yeah, so going on to what you just said with regards to Palmer as the best player, Palmer is not the best player for the record. But before I go into that in too much depth, the next comment you said is, I don't like Chelsea. Well, I don't like Chelsea so much that I would start Palmer in front of Saka. So there you go. So that goes to show how much I don't like Chelsea because I would play Palmer over Saka. I think Saka is very, very tired. I think he needs a break. I think he's looked like he was playing on empty gas towards the end of the season. I think that the season couldn't have come quick enough. I don't think Saka could play a part in these friendlies because he's just so empty. And Palmer is red hot. And the fact he scored a penalty and the fact that if we've got Palmer on the pitch and we need a penalty taker, I would be more than comfortable for Palmer to take it if Kane can't take it for whatever reason. So that's how much I don't like Chelsea. But just for the record, Conor Gallagher does not start for England for me. And people keep saying it. And I am a bit concerned that it's picking up a bit of momentum because Conor Gallagher should not be starting in that team for the reasons that we've just spoken about. Conor Gallagher, bearing in mind I'm a Palace fan and he's been at Palace, and I think Conor Gallagher's a very good footballer. If you want to win something, you've got to play your best team. And your best team on ability and in the positions is not Conor Gallagher in there.
Big P, I know that you mentioned playing Conor Gallagher. Why would you pick him ahead of the other midfielders?
I just think when you look at our midfield, not only are we very attacking in that midfield, and Declan Rice. When I say is that only holding midfield, obviously Wharton's there as well, but I think he won't start with Wharton. I think Wharton will come on or will go for the experience, and two, if Rice gets a suspension or picks up an injury, then we're talking about Wharton. Okay, but for Gallagher, I think he's a workhorse. He's the only one that will, in that midfield, that will chase the ball wherever it is. Let's be honest, he did have a very good end to the season with Chelsea.
No more so than Wharton or Mainu.
And I'm not doubting that, but Mainu will play more. I think will play more of an advanced role if should he be needed. And I think Wharton, my personal opinion, Wharton will go as backup for Rice, And it's no disrespect to Walton because I think he's had a fantastic end to the season. I think he'll go as back up to Rice if he picks up an injury or a suspension, but will only be used in that sort of scenario. Or if we're winning a game and he wants to go really defensive, he can use both of them. But that's why I think Gallagher will start.
Well, this is where I think the problem lies with England, exactly with this mindset, because Gallagher isn't good enough to start for England over the players that we've got available. And it's all about improvising with the players that you've got available and picking a formation that puts the best players out there. Now, Gallagher should not be getting on there due to default because he runs a little bit. You know, you've got a Mainu that runs and passes the ball and beats players. Mainu that was the best player against Brazil. You've had Walton come in that keeps the ball, passes the ball, does everything to the game. Gallagher does not. Gallagher should not be starting for England.
Look, let's not, with Walton, as I said, he's a fantastic player, but let's not get hung up on 20 minutes that he played the other night for England against the Bosnians.
We're not. We're being hung up on. We're being hung up on.
International football is totally different to Premier League football.
So what's Gallagher done at international football then?
No, but it's what he can do. Now, if you need someone to put in a 50-50 tackle and get that crowd on their feet, Gallagher's your man.
No.
Gallagher is your man.
He is.
Gallagher he might not be fantastic on the ball, but that's why we've got Declan Rice who can do bits on the ball, Bellingham in front of him, Foden, Saka. Do you know what I mean? We've got players around him that we can accommodate a Gallagher that will chase everything down in 30 degrees heat, will smash someone in a tackle, we'll take that yellow card if we need to, regardless whether he gets a suspension or... Do you know what I mean? I just think he brings something a bit more different to what we've already got.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
No. We're not that team. We're not an Arsenal or the Invincibles where we got a Vieira that needed to be in there. We got Declan Rice that breaks the ball up, gives the ball to the next person, and we play attacking football. The attacking football that we play is not Gallagher.
But we will play attacking football in the group stages. Get to the later part of the group stages, right, where teams are going to be better than us. And I'm talking your Francis. Gallagher will soon slot in. I generally think Gallagher will play in the groups.
What's the point in taking a Walton then? I don't understand.
One, he gains experience of a tournament. Look, we're talking about a Walton, right? Let's move on to Walton because I think it's a great conversation. We're talking about a Walton, right, that started his season. He played at home to West Brom. His second game of the season was at Rotherham. He got dropped halfway the beginning of the season at Blackburn because he wasn't good enough. He then come back into the side and improved vastly, got his move to Palace.
Yeah.
In March, was called up for the under-21s, had such a good end to the season that he got his call up for England against Bosnia. Now, I listened to Declan Rice, who did the same interview as Gareth Southgate. He was sitting next to him and he said, Walton is a fantastic player. The way he passes the ball, he can pass it with his left, he can pass it with his right. The crispness he's passing, he has. But for me, Rice went on to say to the media, please do not put too much pressure on this guy's shoulders. Just let him go and flourish. That was Rice's words, okay? Right. Now, for me, I think Walton will go for, one, the experience, because I think he'll be in the England side for a very long time to come, okay? And I can see him being in the England side maybe for the next 10 to 15 years. I really can. And I don't think that... I think this tournament is too soon for him in a way, but in a roundabout way, Southgate wants to take him to get that exposure ready for the World Cup.
Yeah, but you're pinning everything on Walton. Forget Walton for a sec. Park Walton. Forget Walton. Take Walton. Sorry, did you say that's Marcus? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcus, not being funny, Doc, but Walton might not even grace the pitch during this tournament. Let's just have things up. Not a problem. Not a problem. He don't grace the pitch, but my theory doesn't change. Whether Walton plays or whether Walton don't play, I still would rather see a Mainu play than a Gallagher play. And you've just gone on and talked about Walton's journey, right? So park Walton for a sec. We'll now go on to Gallagher. Couldn't get in the Chelsea team to start the season, was due to be sold, right? Couldn't get the money that they wanted for him to be got kept. Didn't get into the team under Poch at the beginning. Then when the injuries happened and he had no choice, he decided to make Gallagher captain to try and give him a bit of confidence to show him that he wanted to keep him. He's been in that Chelsea team that struggled, right? He's picked up a little bit of form along the way. He's not set the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination. He hasn't done that much over the season, really, if you're realistic. Everyone knows it's the Palmer show. He's not put up any numbers at all. Why are we talking about Gallagher like he's the bee's knees?
I think Gallagher, Gallagher, you've got I think, yeah, all right, he was dropped, but he then come back into that side to prove him. What you say he makes him club captain to give him confidence. We will know. We're talking fictional, because that's down to only Poch and Gallagher will know why he was made club captain. For me,
well, who else could he have picked?
Thiago Silva.
Yeah, Thiago Silva was the only one he could have picked, and Thiago Silva was retiring at the end of the season anyway, at the end of his career, and they needed a captain, and they needed a player that was obviously talking about leaving. They offered him a long-term contract that he didn't want to sign, and Poch tried to put some faith in him to put his arm around him, like many managers have done before, to give him the boost that you're in my plans. Sign the contract.
So I agree with you in terms of Gallagher didn't have the best of starts, but when Enzo Fernandez got injured, and then when Gallagher started off a lot deeper, then that's actually where you see the best of Gallagher. He isn't a number 10. He isn't going to be like a man or two, and actually tell a lie. He has put it in the top corner a few times. I mean, literally, he has got a goal in it.
Number 10, yet he played in the number 10 role for Crystal Palace week in, week out when he had arguably his best spell in the Premier League.
Yeah, but literally, I think even he would admit, again, without being disrespectful to Crystal Palace, he was literally heads above anyone else in that team. And, literally, he was literally your only shining light. Going back to Chelsea, he has to know his role. And his role is literally a ball-winning midfielder with, literally the kind of exceptional talent of Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez. He fits nicely into that team. And again, there's a reason why he was club captain at Chelsea. And again, exactly what Big P said.
Let me tell you this for free. If Chelsea fans got their wish tomorrow and they bought Walton and Elise, Walton and Eze, Conor Gallagher wouldn't even get in that Chelsea team.
Again, we're talking fictional because we wouldn't know. How do you know that?
All the Chelsea fans want them. Why do they want them if they've got someone there that's playing?
Chelsea fans don't run the club. The manager does. That's just we can all have opinions. We can all have opinions on who should play and who shouldn't. That's why we're fans and we have an opinion. But ultimately, it lies down to the manager, doesn't it? I just want to move on from the midfield. I want to go up front a little bit because we know that Harry Kane's not played the last 3 games in Germany. Played 15, 20 minutes the other day for England. If Harry Kane, Southgate come back today and said that Harry Kane would probably play around about 90 minutes, if not the best part of 90 minutes. If he takes that knock tomorrow, and hypothetically, we say that it's bad enough that he probably won't play in the Euros, what do you make of the Watkins and Toney call-ups? Are you surprised by either one of them, number one? And number two, do you think that they would live up to the expectations that would be expected of them? Let's start with you, Doc, on that one.
So with regards to the surprises of the call-ups, I am surprised Toney got his call-up because of the scandal that was over his head. I don't think the FA would allow him to be called up. But with regards to footballing ability, if you don't take Toney, you've got to take Solanke, who I think is overrated. And I don't think Solanke is international quality. I don't think Solanke is a top 6 quality. So for me personally, I don't think we had any choice but to take the 2 that we're taking. With regards to standing up and being held accountable, I don't think you'll see Toney playing much regardless, because I think if Kane gets injured, Watkins will play there. And I think Watkins will do for England what he does for Aston Villa. He'll be pulling out to the left quite a lot, which will let the Fodens, the Bellinghams, the Palmers, the Sakas arrive in the box. And I think with a Watkins in the team, he won't finish our top scorer the way Kane will finish our top scorer, because I don't think he'll get in them positions. I don't think we will play that style of play with a Watkins. And I think Watkins offers something different to Kane. I actually think Watkins could play on the left for England. I generally do. I wouldn't want him to, because we've got other better options. But I do think he's capable of doing that. And I think Watkins is a very intelligent footballer. And I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves with the assists that he creates at Aston Villa. He's playing in a team that is finished 4th in the league. He's had a very, very good season. And again, like I said before about the left back, we've got midfielders that can score for fun. You know, we've got Bellingham, who scored quite a few. We've got Foden, who scored like a hell of a lot. You know, you've got Saka that scored quite a lot. You've got Palmer that scored quite a lot. You don't need to rely on a striker. That's the way I see it.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit, Doc, here, right?
Go on.
Semi-final.
Yeah.
We've got just France, okay?
Yeah.
It's the last minute of extra time. It's destined for penalty kicks.
Yeah.
Do you bring Tony on to take a penalty?
No.
Interesting.
No.
To Breeze, I want to give you the same question.
Because he's probably had a bet on it. And I just wouldn't know on what bet he'd have. So no, probably not. But I think, like, you know,
behave yourself, Doc. Behave yourself, mate.
You've got Palmer, you got Kane, you got Bellingham that would take one, you got Saka that would take one. Don't need him to take one.
So Breeze, sort of the same question to you. Are you surprised with the inclusion of both of them? And do you expect to see either one of them on the pitch?
I think they're the best of a bad bunch. Let's be absolutely honest with you. Without Kane, I don't know how many goals or caps those guys have between them. Probably less than 10 goals, I believe.
Yeah,
best of a bad bunch. I genuinely think we could probably play with a false nine, because you know, Harry Kane for the past few years now, he's been dropping into that kind of number 10, you know, in that pocket role. And again, we have runners. We have Foden. We've got Saka. We have Gordon now. You know, we can score goals from like anywhere on the pitch. I don't think Ollie Watkins is international quality. He is good, but not on the level of obviously what we've had before. Ivan Toney, a very poor end of season. Yeah, I can't really say nothing more.
Not to the level we've had before. Please abbreviate on that, because if you're talking about the starting strikers when we've played two up top, I would agree. But we're talking about teams that have had a Peter Crouch, a Vassell.
Yeah, but literally, we've had duos. We've had Heskey, Owen, Crouch, Vassell. Okay, Vassell wasn't like the greatest. However, we've like always had a generation of like amazing strikers from Les Ferdinand, Alan Shearer, Teddy Sheringham, Ian Wright, Stan Collymore, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen. Like a lot of these guys were in the same generation where, like, you know, we would.
And how many goals did these strikers score in the Premier League?
Tons.
No, like on average in one season.
Okay, so literally, if we're so cliche, I can literally only talk about like the Fowler situation. Fowler scored a heap of goals for like Liverpool in the kind of, you know, Premiership. Didn't get a sniff because of Owen and Shearer at the time. Like, and again, if we're looking at Les Ferdinand, amazing striker, but because of Alan Shearer, because of Teddy Sheringham, Ian Wright scored an abundance of goals, you know, in the Prem, because we had elite strikers that could actually, you know, score clutch goals in, you know, these kind of knockout tournaments. That's the reason why these guys didn't play. Now, if you're looking at Solanke, no disrespect to Solanke and no disrespect to like Bournemouth, because again, you know, as like we've all seen, smaller teams can now, create international players, or, you know, England internationals. But let's be absolutely real. Harry Kane here, everyone else
Yeah,
there.
I just think there's a bit more to it than that. I just think that there's been a changing of the guard. I think that when you're talking about the strikers that you're talking about, that was a generation where a striker was expected to get 20 plus goals and a midfielder was expected to get 10 plus goals. And you're talking about a generation now where, you know, let's be honest, if you talk about Foden this year, when Haaland's gone missing, Foden's been banging. So
my question to you is: Harry Kane is 31. Is he 31? 31, 32?
Around about 31, 32, yeah.
Okay, so let's say that this is probably going to be his last Euros. So he's probably got one World Cup, possibly. Who's the next frontman that we can all look at? Because it's not Watkins, it's not Tony.
No, and listen, I'm not disagreeing with that. I totally agree with that. And I think by default, I think that we're in a generation where, let's say Harry Kane hangs up his boots after this competition, right? Hypothetically, we win it and he wants to go out on a high and he leaves. I don't see where the next striker comes from. So I think that we need to do what Spain done and not play with a striker by default. But if you're talking about a striker that you need to play with a striker, it's Watkins all day long. Who else is there?
I generally think that, and this is a massive and bold statement I'm going to make here, but I generally think that you could see Bellingham going into that role. We've seen him do it for Real Madrid this year, as Doc's sort of elaborated on there, that the Spanish do it. The Spanish don't play with a striker. And that's what I can see us sort of going into.
I
wouldn't be surprised to see Bellingham go into that role.
I don't think you need Bellingham to do it. This is what I'm trying to say. I think that you've got players around you that, we've spoken about this before. The players and the caliber of players that we've got that play, for me, freely for their clubs. You've got Eze that plays freely for Palace. You've got Foden that plays freely at City. You've got Saka that plays freely where he can cut in where he wants. You've got Kane that can drop in. If Kane goes, just let them play freely. Just, you don't need to worry about a centre forward. All you need to worry about is they look at each other and they know when one goes, the other one doesn't. And it's all about having the intelligence of the game. And we are screaming out with intelligent footballers. We are screaming out right now with people on the ball look so comfortable. We're screaming out to, let's stop holding these players back and stop asking them to do things. You know, just let them go out there and express themselves and play to their ability. And I think that's where you'll see the best of England.
Interesting point. And I do agree. I generally think that the strikers now is a dying breed. I generally think that the time of having,
especially in the Premier League, we're talking about Haaland being the most prolific goal scorer, but yet what else does he offer? He's been compared to a League Two striker, not goal scorer. You know, It's a dying breed. It's an absolute dying breed. You know, I'm not being rude, but when Solanke's getting mentioned as one of the most prolific goal scorers in the country, you know there's something wrong.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the Premier League teams and how many Premier League teams are like dying to sign a number 9, a striker. There's so many. I can think of 5 off the top of my head. Do you know what I mean?
And please don't tell me that we're going to turn to Nketiah at Arsenal, because I tell you what, if that's the future, then wow.
It's the truth though, isn't it? He's not great, but if we was to stick with a striker, who there's no one that I can name. You've reeled off Watkins, Tony, who I don't know how old they are, but I can't imagine they're going to be around for the next 10 to 15 years. Do you know what I mean? So once they all hang up their boots, there's just no one. We are talking Solanke's, Tammy Abraham, who's just come back from a major injury, Eddie Nketiah. They're the 3 that I can name off the top of my head that we know about. Unless someone in one of these academies have got this fantastic striker just like lying in their under 18s or something. Yeah, I'm pretty much with you, Doc.
To be fair, we have got one lying in the under 17s, funny enough. But you need to give him a couple of years. But there is a Spurs striker that's banging them in.
Mikey Moore, I know. Yeah, Mikey Moore.
I know you know him quite well.
I think he's more of a midfielder. He's more of that attacking midfielder. more than a striker. But yeah, again, could that be a conversation that we have in 5 to 6 years' time? Who knows?
Actually, Big P, I want to kind of throw it back to you. Actually, I think there's a player in like your ranks that could possibly do the kind of number 9 that's in the squad.
Jared, yeah, yeah. First and foremost, I'm happy for Bowen. This is probably his best season he's had with West Ham. And when I say that, goals and assists, I think he knocked up something over. He's knocked up over 20 combined. So it's his best season by far for West Ham. However, West Ham tried to play him down the middle and it didn't work. I just don't think
you can't.
No, what I mean by that is he just looked lost at times. Do you know what I mean? And he was trying to learn whilst playing down the middle. Now, if he was to learn to play down the middle, why not play for England down the middle? But the season that I've just witnessed, he doesn't look like one of them, a striker, if you know what I mean. Like he's very weak, can't really hold the ball up. Do you know what I mean? Jared's game is about getting the ball and taking on defenders and getting that crossing. Do you know what I mean? And then you're asking him to adapt. Some players can adapt, some players can't. So I'd be very surprised to see Bowen play down the middle at any point. But I suppose never say never.
I still think people are massively harsh on Watkins, and I think you haven't even seen the best of Watkins yet. I think he's still young, he's still adapting, and I think if Watkins goes into, say, that Arsenal team, because I know he's an Arsenal fan, and I know that he has sort of suggested that he wants to play for Arsenal, I think if you put Watkins in that Arsenal team, he becomes a 20-25 goal scorer overnight. And I think that if you're scoring 25... well, he's nearly at that at Villa.
And like he was at full capacity there. I don't think he's a 20.
Where's the creativity in that Villa team? Like, this is the way I see it. Yeah, Villa have played 38 games this year, and out of the 38 games, there's been at least 5 or 6 games where they've just not been at the races. You take away like the fact that any games he's missed through injuries. You take away that last game when we absolutely spanked them for fun. Like he's done it over about a 30-game window. And I think if you're playing at Arsenal, you've got 38 games. Arsenal will always create chances, and Arsenal will always score goals. And even this year, where allegedly they've gone more defensive, they've scored more goals than they've ever scored before.
But I don't think Watkins is a patient striker. He likes the balls quick, direct into channels, and Arsenal do not play like that. To play for Arsenal, you have to be a very patient.
Get Vardy back in. Give Vardy one more year. There you go, job done. We'll have Vardy back.
I think you listen to Rob Green on, and I know Rob Green was a goalkeeper, and you might say it's irrelevant, but listen to Rob Green on what he said on Monday night. He said Bosnia have come in to sit back, which we knew they were going to do, and that will now affect Watkins' game because he can't get in behind. Watkins you rarely see Watkins holding up a ball and bringing players into the game. He likes to get behind the defence, then and have them balls threaded through or over the top. That's where I think playing for England, you could be in a bit of trouble because a lot of teams are going to come and set up to defend against England. Where against Villa, a lot of teams take the game to Villa, so it works in his favour. And that's why I think we could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, but you're putting the emphasis on Watkins. Now, regardless of if that team comes to sit back or not, the quality that we've got, if we had a Bellingham on that pitch, right? If we had a Foden on that pitch, if we had the team that we've got, they would have ripped them apart regardless of what they would have done. And they would have got in down the sides and they would have cut the ball back to Watkins for tap-ins. You don't need to play that way. It's so harsh that Watkins, it's like people are discrediting Watkins as a player based on one B team appearance.
No. Go on.
I think he's had a fantastic season at Villa. I just think I question. I'm not going to say I don't think. I question whether he can adapt to playing with the likes of a Bellingham, a Foden, and any other names you're going to throw at me, Saka. Can he adapt to playing that style of getting down the side when the defence is on the edge of their 18-yard
But if
box.
he can't, he's got no business being picked for England, does he?
Well, but it comes down to who else do you take as a
Well,
striker.
not really, because a Solanke can. So if Watkins can't, then he shouldn't have been taken. I think that Southgate sees it the way I see it. I think that Southgate sees Watkins, and you boys are big advocates for you play with better players, you play better standard of football. That's why these players need to leave Palace and go and play for Liverpool. Like, come on.
I wouldn't say you boys because I'm not. I don't advocate for that, but I just can he adapt? Is my question.
No, you know what? He cannot adapt because we've seen it with Vardy. When Vardy was hitting the goals in the Prem when he was in his prime, Arsenal came like sniffing around, and he said no because we don't play my style of football. He could have put on an England shirt. He wasn't the same Vardy because England do not play that direct long ball. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like there are certain players with literally all of their attributes, you have to play to their strengths. And England do not play to Watkins' strengths. I don't
see the way you lot talk. You talk to me like you class Watkins as a Vardy where the ball's got to go over the top. Every time I've watched Villa, Watkins is putting out left and drilling crosses in for other people to score. The more times I've watched Villa, Watkins has made more assists than scored. So I think that you're just only focusing on the one aspect of his game. And I strongly suggest you watch Watkins a little bit more, and I think you'll see what I'm saying.
Watkins
you're under the mindset of the ball's got to go over the top, and if it don't go over the top, Watkins can't play.
Yeah, he can't play because literally against Bosnia, he got locked up. He got absolutely locked up because he's England's number 9. Like he's not a winger. He got locked up.
So did 9 other players on the pitch. There was only one player that played well.
What, Trent? Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc. Say his name now. Come on, Doc.
I think we'll leave that one there with Trent, Doc, and Tabriz. To be honest with you, it's coming towards the end of the show. Tabriz, while we're on the subject of Trent, what do you make of his selection, number 1 and number 2, as a centre midfielder?
I don't think he starts in the big games as a centre mid. If you're kind of looking at game opponents that are going to sit back and quote unquote park the bus, then literally Trent is your guy. I don't know anyone else in the team that has the repertoire of like passing like Trent, but I just feel I don't think he's as athletic as the likes of Gallagher and Bellingham and like Declan Rice. I don't think he gets around the pitch as comfortably as the people kind of make out. And again, at right back, that's kind of Walker's spot. So again, it's a kind of conundrum there. However, it's a nice conundrum if like any kind of players are struggling with an injury or again a booking. But for me, he doesn't start in quote unquote the big games.
Doc, what do you think of Trent centre midfield and playing for England?
I tend to agree with Tabriz. I don't think he starts in the big games. However, if you're talking about the conversation we've had previously, I'd rather see Trent play over Gallagher. So for me personally, I'd rather see a Mainu or a Walton next to Rice. If you're not going to go with that and you're going to play a Gallagher, then I'd rather see a Trent. If you want to go one further than that and talk about Kane's out and you want to get the ball over the top to a Watkins, there's no one better than Trent to do that either. And also with Trent on the pitch, you've got the dead ball situation down to a T. We can always get a goal from a corner. He can always score from a free kick. I would be happy for Trent to take a penalty because I'm sure if he puts his foot for it, he'll deliver. So yeah, I don't have an issue with Trent there. I don't want to see Trent in front of Walker because I just want Walker's pace there. Although Walker's pace is deteriorating in my book, and I think this is Walker's worst season. And I don't think Walker can be relied on to be first choice for the World Cup. So we need to come to some sort of understanding that Walker is deteriorating. So, yeah. But like I said, I think Southgate's got a lot of faith in Trent in the centre of mid. So it would not surprise me in where everyone's saying he'll play Gallagher. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays Trent. And it wouldn't surprise me. You know where we've been in competitions before where like a Trevor Sinclair who had the number 23 shirt and only just made the squad and played more minutes and become the best player at the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if Trent was that guy in this one.
Wicked. I'm going to bring the show to an end. Guys, one last question. Do we win the group and do we win the Euros? Tabriz, let's start with you.
Do we win the group and do we win the Euros? Yes. Yes.
Doc?
We don't lose a game all tournament. It's coming home. How do you like that?
I like the optimism there, Doc. So, guys,
What
listen.
What about you, Pete?
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I was a bit. We won't get past the quarterfinals, but looking at the squad, looking at the form, I'm quite optimistic that we smash the group, and we do an English. We go Englishy, and we probably win a few games on penalties. But yeah, I think we go on to win the tournament. Thank you for watching and tuning in, guys. Please stay tuned to our TikTok page, The Amateur Footballer Extra Time, where you'll find live content every day. And please, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and we will be back on Monday at 9:30.
Actually, Big P, before you go, what's the topic on Monday for the people who are watching?
So on Monday, we'll be talking the Euros in general. We'll have an overview on the Euros. We have got a special guest coming on Monday night. So we'll talk everything, France, Germany, maybe touch on England a little bit, but not as in-depth as we have tonight. Holland, all the nations we'll touch on at some point. Outstand, who we think is going to overachieve, underachieve, standout performer. You know the score, T.
But it doesn't matter because it's coming home. Whatever way you like it, it's coming home.
And that will be Monday night show, 9:30. Please tune in. Stay tuned to our TikTok page. And as I say, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel.
It's nothing we trust. It's coming home.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.